Hey YouTube, this is Itchy, and I want to show you what we have going on right now. We have a few cities around the country that are reading a little high. I'm just going to have you watch this for a second and look at the outlines of these systems. This is from the 5th. And this is today, just a very short clip so far from midnight. It's now 5:07 a.m. on Tuesday, December the 5th. Now the cities that are showing high readings, and I'll show you the graphs after I just point them out. San Diego, Yuma, Arizona. And just looking at these two cities right now through this loop, you can see this edge pushing through here. There's 11 recording stations for the EPA in Texas, and I want to point out that none of them were reading over 300. But we did have a high reading here in Fort Smith, Arkansas, Tallahassee, Florida, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Indianapolis, right there, and also Grand Rapids. I noticed today that the graph for Bay City has been disabled, and the one for Detroit hasn't worked at all. The one in Toledo is usually high, although today it was under, I believe it was 200. Which, I mean, is still way too high. It's easy to get a little numb to this sometimes, with the numbers always being what they have been, and we have to remember that these levels shouldn't be really over 50 and certainly not over 100. Two other cities. Oh, Corpus Christi, Texas, I guess, was high. Let's look at the graphs for a moment. It looks like this was on the 5th. It's about 200. Indianapolis, 200, and that's the highest that it's been since mid-October. Fort Wayne, Indiana, 200, just under 200, about 180. Grand Rapids, 200. Tallahassee, and it's a little difficult to say since we don't have any prior readings, but it's the highest it's been since the graphs have come online. San Diego, this is the highest that it's been since mid-September. Yuma, we see lots of crazy stuff going on here, but it's been steadily increasing and hovering between 200 and 450 for about the last month and a half, and then it was even higher approximately November the 24th. Fort Smith. And let's just go back real quick and look at this. It was high here yesterday. As this edge moved through here, that's when the numbers went up. But I mean, these numbers aren't anywhere what I was expecting to see if the yellow light that was showing up on the cameras on Friday was actually a nuclear fire or some kind of reaction. I would expect these to be higher. I mean, they're still high for normal post-Fukushima air, which is still not good, and it really bothers me that we have so little information to go on. All these graphs, I mean, only half of them are working. It would be really nice to know what was going on in Chicago. It'd be really nice to know what we have going on in New England. You know, in New York, there's 5 or 6 locations, and none of them are working. And, you know, all of these graphs that are in California that don't work either, or they're reading really low, and if you look at the graphs from before Fukushima, you know that they've been completely readjusted. And we've got another system moving down through here. Canada, there's very few people that are in Vancouver taking measurements. It seems to be hit or miss. The highest rate of cancer is occurring in this part of the country right now. It's 10% higher than it was at the same time last year. And it's really hard to predict exactly like where the stuff is. And the only way that you're going to know is if you are doing very expensive tests on soil. And the government has all the equipment to do that. And they're not even testing the food. Here's what we have going on right now. And NOAA's 5-day forecast for precipitation. I want to look something up here real quick. I guess it's really hard to sometimes get a handle on just how pervasive this problem is and how many people it's affecting. And these forecasts, you know, are just focusing on what's going on in the United States. But, I mean, Mexico has been hit all summer. I mean, everywhere's been hit. Even Australia, 3 weeks after Fukushima, they detected radionuclides, and we were told it would never cross over to the southern hemisphere. And Canada, I mean, there's a lot of people that live in this area. There's nothing being done to help them or inform them. In Alaska, and it's not just here. I mean, after it's flowing out of Japan, it's hitting all along this area, all across the United States. The highest Geiger readings that I've seen from people on YouTube was 20,000 counts per minute from a guy in Toronto, and that was in June. You know, we have plutonium in Massachusetts. Some of the highest readings in the first couple weeks after the reactors blew up were in Florida, and now all of these graphs have been taken offline. And then after, it goes to us. I mean, it's just unbelievable how many people this is affecting. Tokyo has 35 million people living in the greater metropolitan area. It's the city of Fukushima. In addition to the plant, there were several plants that had problems right after the earthquake. In fact, there's one just right down the coast here named Fukushima 2. We don't even know what's going on there. There was evidence that one of the reactors there might have melted down. I mean, I can't even believe sometimes there's people still living over here with this going on. And if you don't have the money to move and the government's not going to help you, what can you do? Some of the areas around the city of Tokyo are having readings that were as high as right outside the reactor at Chernobyl. And the government won't move these people. They almost can't. If you do it in terms of a math problem, it would take 6 or 7 years to evacuate everybody in the city. So that's why it's not being done. And it would cost too much. And in addition to Fukushima, there's 54 other plants on the island of Japan. Pretty much all of them are on the coast. There was concrete mixed on a road in South Korea a couple months ago that was so radioactive that they had to close the road. They couldn't even let people drive on it. And the wind's going, the other way for the most part. And then, in addition to all of that, we have 2 plants right here that we don't know the status of since May, and both of them were flooded. I'm downwind of that. Chicago's downwind of that. Toledo, which is downwind, has been having really high readings all summer. We had 10 plants around here that all declared emergencies after the Virginia earthquake. One of them right here is still cracked, Bessie. They're trying to reopen it. And then we have all these areas where fuel has been dumped off the coast of England, off the East Coast, in the Gulf of Mexico, all up our west coast, including areas that are having underwater volcanoes going off right now. And in El Hierro, the same thing. And you've got nuke waste that's been dumped off the coast of Japan also. And we don't know where the stuff is coming from, but something is affecting these graphs. I don't think now, seeing them, that it was an actual fire. I think they would have been a much higher, but we'll see how it goes over the next few days. I don't know, just needed to get that off my chest. Stay safe.